Have you ever stopped to think about what truly matters when we reach old age? Is everything we've accumulated throughout life, money, possessions, even the love of our children, enough to guarantee a peaceful and happy life? We spend decades working hard, building careers, raising families, and saving for the future. But when retirement finally arrives, many of us find ourselves asking, what now? What if the key to a fulfilling and serene old age isn't about how much we've given to others, but rather about what we've preserved for ourselves, our peace of mind, our independence, and our inner joy? What if I told you that, according to Buddhist teachings, the secret to happiness in our later years lies not in what we give away, but in what we keep for ourselves? It's a radical idea, especially in a world that often tells us to sacrifice everything for our loved ones. But what if holding onto our resources, our time, and our emotional well-being is a true path to meaningful and balanced life? Let's explore this profound perspective and discover how it can transform the way we approach aging and retirement. Today, we're going to explore a topic that touches all of us: aging and retirement. But this isn't just another discussion about finances, healthcare plans, or where to travel after leaving the workforce. Instead, we're diving into a deeper, more profound perspective, one inspired by ancient Buddhist teachings. These timeless principles offer invaluable insights into how we can find purpose, peace, and balance during this transformative stage of life. Retirement isn't merely the end of a career or the closing of a chapter. It's the beginning of a brand new journey, brimming with opportunities for spiritual growth, self-discovery, and redefining what it means to live a fulfilling life. As we embark on this journey, one of the most crucial lessons we'll uncover is the importance of setting boundaries, especially with our children. It's natural to want to give our loved ones everything we have, whether it's financial support, our time, or even our emotional energy. But what happens when giving too much leaves us depleted, both emotionally and financially? What happens when our expectations of reciprocity aren't met? Buddhist teachings remind us that true peace comes from within, and sometimes the greatest act of love we can offer ourselves, and even our children, is learning to hold on to what we need to thrive. This means not giving away everything, whether it's money, time, or the weight of our expectations. In this video, we'll explore how to navigate this delicate balance, drawing on wisdom that has guided generations. By the end, you'll have a fresh perspective on how to approach aging and retirement, not as a time of loss or dependence, but as an opportunity to cultivate inner peace, independence, and a deeper connection to what truly matters. So, let's begin this journey together and discover how to make the most of this precious phase of life. Imagine dedicating your entire life to your children, pouring everything you have into them. Your time, your energy, your resources. You provide them with the best education, financial support, and unconditional love, believing that one day, when you need them most, they'll be there for you. But then, as you reach old age, you realize that they aren't there in the way you expected. They're busy with their own lives, their own families, and their own struggles. This realization can be heartbreaking, and yet it's a reality many parents face. It's a painful truth that often goes unspoken, but it's one that Buddhist teachings address with profound wisdom. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that attachment and expectations are among the greatest sources of suffering. When we become too attached to our children, expecting them to reciprocate the love, care, and sacrifices we've made, we unknowingly create an emotional trap. We tie our happiness to their actions, their choices, and their ability to meet our expectations. But the truth is, no one can fully live up to the expectations we place on them, not even our own children. This doesn't mean they don't love us. It simply means they have their own paths to walk, their own challenges to face. And when we cling too tightly to what we hope they'll give us in return, we set ourselves up for disappointment and pain. A powerful example of this can be seen in the story of Bazin and his wife. For decades, they dedicated their lives to their children, striving to give them the best possible start in life. They worked tirelessly, saved diligently, and made countless sacrifices to ensure their children had opportunities they themselves never had. But as Bazin and his wife entered their golden years, they began to notice a shift. Their children, now adults with families of their own, were less present than they had hoped. The care and attention they had given so freely weren't being returned in the way they had imagined. At first, this realization was deeply painful. It's natural to feel a sense of loss or even betrayal when the people we've invested so much in seem to drift away. But instead of allowing bitterness to take root, Bazin and his wife turned to Buddhist teachings for guidance. They learned about the principle of detachment, the idea that true peace comes from letting go of expectations and finding contentment within ourselves, rather than relying on others to fulfill our emotional needs. Embracing this wisdom, Bazin and his wife made a conscious decision to prioritize their own well-being. They chose to focus on their financial and emotional independence, setting aside their savings for their own needs, rather than continuing to give everything to their children. They began to live a simpler, more intentional life, finding joy in the present moment rather than dwelling on what they felt was missing. By releasing their attachment to how their children should behave, they freed themselves from the emotional burden of unmet expectations. Their story is a powerful reminder that detachment doesn't mean we stop loving or caring for our children. It simply means we love them without conditions, without expecting anything in return. It means recognizing that our happiness is our own responsibility, not something we can outsource to others. And it means finding peace in the knowledge that we've done our best, even if the outcome isn't what we envisioned. Detachment, as Bazin and his wife discovered, is not about cutting ties or becoming indifferent. It's about cultivating a sense of inner freedom, a freedom that allows us to love deeply while remaining emotionally balanced. It's about understanding that our children's lives are their own, and that our role as parents is to guide and support them, not to control or depend on them. By embracing this mindset, we can navigate the challenges of aging with grace, resilience, and a profound sense of peace. Another crucial aspect of navigating old age with grace and peace is financial independence. For many parents, the instinct to provide for their children never fades, even as they enter retirement. It's not uncommon to see elderly parents continuing to financially support their adult children, whether it's helping with mortgage payments, funding grandchildren's education, or covering unexpected expenses. While this generosity is often driven by love, it can come at a significant cost, compromising their own financial security, emotional well-being, and even their sense of dignity in later life. Buddhist teachings offer a refreshing perspective on this dilemma. They encourage us to find a balance between generosity and self-preservation. While giving is a noble and virtuous act, it should never come at the expense of our own stability and peace of mind. True generosity, according to Buddhist principles, is rooted in compassion, but is also mindful of boundaries. It's about giving freely without depleting ourselves or creating dependencies that can lead to suffering for both parties. Take, for example, the story of Bazin and his wife. After decades of hard work, they had built a comfortable life for themselves, complete with a stable pension and savings. Like many parents, they had spent years supporting their children financially, paying for their education, helping them buy homes, and even assisting with their grandchildren's needs. But as they entered retirement, they made a bold and unconventional decision. They chose to stop giving their children financial support altogether. At first glance, this decision might seem harsh or even selfish. After all, isn't it a parent's role to provide for their children no matter their age? But Bazin and his wife saw it differently. They believed that true love doesn't come with strings attached or expectations of repayment. By choosing to keep their savings for themselves, they weren't withholding love. They were practicing self-respect and ensuring their own well-being. They understood that their financial independence was key to living a life of dignity and peace, free from the anxiety of relying on others. This decision wasn't made lightly. It required deep reflection and a shift in mindset. Bazin and his wife had to let go of societal expectations and the ingrained belief that parents must always sacrifice for their children. They realized that their children, now adults with their own careers and families, were capable of standing on their own 2 feet. Continuing to financially support them would not only strain their own resources, but also hinder their children's growth and self-reliance. By prioritizing their financial independence, Bazin and his wife were able to live their retirement years on their own terms. They traveled, pursued hobbies, and enjoyed the simple pleasures of life without the constant worry of running out of money. More importantly, they found peace in knowing that they had taken responsibility for their own well-being, rather than placing that burden on their children. This approach aligns with a core Buddhist teaching. Attachment to material things or expectations from others only leads to suffering. When we tie our happiness to external factors, whether it's money, possessions, or the actions of others, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Bazin and his wife's story illustrates the profound wisdom of letting go of these attachments. By focusing on their own needs and preserving their resources, they were able to cultivate a sense of inner peace and contentment that no amount of financial support could provide. Their example serves as a powerful reminder that financial independence in old age isn't just about having enough money. It's about having the freedom to live with dignity, the confidence to make choices that align with our values, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing we've taken care of ourselves. It's a lesson in balancing love and responsibility, generosity and self-preservation, and ultimately finding harmony in the later stages of life. One of the most profound and often challenging lessons in Buddhism is the paradox of giving. On the surface, generosity is universally celebrated as a virtue, a selfless act that strengthens relationships, fosters compassion, and brings joy to both the giver and the receiver. But Buddhism takes this concept a step further, revealing a deeper truth. When we give with the expectation of receiving something in return, we unknowingly create emotional burdens for ourselves and others. This is the paradox of giving. It can be both a source of immense joy and a potential cause of suffering, depending on the intentions behind it. Bazin and his wife experienced this paradox firsthand. Throughout their lives, they had given their children everything they could: financial support for their education, down payments for their homes, even cars to help them get started in life. Their generosity knew no bounds, and they gave freely, believing that their sacrifices would be reciprocated when the time came. But as they grew older and found themselves in need of support, whether emotional, physical, or even financial, their children were noticeably absent. The care and attention they had poured into their family for decades weren't returned in the way they had hoped. This realization was deeply painful. It's natural to feel a sense of betrayal or disappointment when the people we've invested so much in seem to drift away or fail to meet our expectations. But Bazin and his wife's story isn't just about unmet expectations. It's a powerful lesson in the nature of true generosity. Buddhism teaches that giving with strings attached, whether it's the expectation of gratitude, loyalty, or reciprocation, creates a hidden emotional debt. This debt can weigh heavily on both the giver and the receiver, turning what should be an act of love into a source of tension and resentment. So, does this mean we should stop giving altogether? Not at all. The lesson here isn't to withhold love or support, but to give freely, without attachment to the outcome. True generosity, according to Buddhist teachings, comes from the heart. It's an expression of compassion and kindness, untainted by the desire for recognition or reward. When we give in this way, we free ourselves from the emotional chains of expectation and allow our actions to flow from a place of pure intention. Bazin and his wife came to understand this wisdom over time. They realized that their happiness couldn't depend on their children's actions or their ability to meet certain expectations. Instead, they had to find joy within themselves and in the simple pleasures of life. They began to focus on what they could control, their own mindset, their own choices, and their own well-being. By releasing their attachment to how their children should behave, they discovered a newfound sense of freedom and peace. This shift in perspective didn't mean they stopped loving or caring for their children. On the contrary, their love became purer and more unconditional. They continued to support their children in ways that felt authentic and meaningful, but they no longer tied their own happiness to the outcomes of those actions. They learned to give without keeping score, to love without demanding anything in return, and to find contentment in the act of giving itself. The paradox of giving, as Bazin and his wife discovered, is that the more we let go of our expectations, the more we receive in return, not in the form of material rewards or external validation, but in the form of inner peace and emotional freedom. It's a lesson that challenges us to examine our own motivations and to cultivate a spirit of generosity that is truly selfless. When we give from this place, we not only enrich the lives of others, but also nourish our own souls, creating a ripple effect of kindness and compassion that extends far beyond ourselves. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons to learn, especially when it comes to family. For many elderly parents, the idea of distancing themselves from their children, whether emotionally, financially, or physically, can feel like an insurmountable challenge. After decades of nurturing, guiding, and sacrificing for their children, the thought of stepping back can evoke deep fears of loneliness, abandonment, or even failure as a parent. It's a natural instinct to want to remain close, to continue playing an active role in their lives, and to hold on to the hope that they'll be there for us in return. But as Buddhist teachings remind us, true peace and happiness come from within, not from our relationships or external circumstances. Bazin and his wife faced this challenge head-on. After years of emotional turmoil, feeling unappreciated, overlooked, and even taken for granted by their children, they reached a turning point. They realized that their well-being couldn't depend on their children's actions or their ability to meet certain expectations. The emotional weight of unmet hopes and the constant cycle of disappointment had taken a toll on their mental and physical health. It was time for a change. Guided by Buddhist principles, Bazin and his wife made the courageous decision to let go. They chose to release their attachment to the traditional family dynamic they had once envisioned, one where their children would care for them in their old age, just as they had cared for their children in their youth. Instead, they shifted their focus inward, prioritizing their own well-being and independence. This wasn't an easy choice, but it was a necessary one. They understood that clinging to outdated expectations would only prolong their suffering and prevent them from finding true peace. To embrace this new chapter of their lives, Bazin and his wife made the bold move to live in a retirement home. While this decision might seem unconventional or even heartbreaking to some, it was a liberating choice for them. The retirement home offered them a sense of community, security, and freedom that they hadn't experienced in years. They no longer had to worry about being a burden to their children or feeling neglected in their own home. Instead, they could focus on building new friendships, pursuing hobbies, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life without the emotional weight of unmet expectations. Living in a retirement home wasn't the traditional family setting they had once imagined, but it allowed them to reclaim their dignity and independence. They found joy in the little things, morning walks, shared meals with fellow residents, and the peace of mind that came from knowing they were in control of their own lives. For the first time in years, they felt free to live on their own terms, unencumbered by the emotional baggage of their past. Bazin and his wife's story is a powerful reminder that, in old age, our happiness depends not on others but on our ability to find contentment within ourselves. It's a lesson in the art of letting go, of releasing the need for external validation, of surrendering the illusion of control, and of embracing the present moment with gratitude and acceptance. Letting go doesn't mean we stop loving our children or caring about their well-being. It simply means we love them without conditions, without expecting them to fulfill our emotional needs or live up to our expectations. This shift in mindset is not just about self-preservation. It's about self-liberation. By letting go of the need to control or depend on others, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. We learn to find joy in the here and now, rather than clinging to the past or worrying about the future. And we discover that true happiness comes from within, from cultivating a sense of inner peace that no external circumstance can take away. Bazin and his wife's journey is a testament to the transformative power of letting go. It's a reminder that, even in the face of disappointment and heartache, we have the power to choose how we respond. We can either cling to what we cannot control and suffer as a result, or we can release our grip and find freedom in the present moment. Their story inspires us to embrace the challenges of aging with grace, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to our own well-being. After all, the greatest gift we can give ourselves and our loved ones is the gift of inner peace. Aging and retirement are inevitable stages of life, but how we approach them makes all the difference. By embracing Buddhist principles of detachment, financial independence, and mindful giving, we can transform this phase into a journey of self-discovery and peace. Bazin and his wife's story teaches us that true happiness comes from within, not from the expectations we place on others. Their experience highlights the importance of cultivating inner contentment and letting go of societal pressures, allowing us to navigate the later years with grace and purpose. As you reflect on your own life, consider how you can apply these lessons. How can you find balance between caring for your loved ones and preserving your own well-being? This balance is crucial, as it ensures that you do not lose yourself in the process of supporting others. How can you let go of expectations and embrace the present moment? Letting go of rigid expectations, whether they are your own or those imposed by others, frees you to live authentically and appreciate the beauty of each moment. Remember, the key to a fulfilling old age lies not in what you give away, but in what you keep for yourself, your peace, your independence, and your joy. These are the treasures that sustain you and allow you to age with dignity and fulfillment. Ultimately, aging and retirement are not just about winding down. They are opportunities to deepen your understanding of yourself and the world around you. By focusing on inner growth, mindful living, and meaningful connections, you can create a legacy of wisdom and compassion that enriches not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Embrace this chapter with an open heart, and let it be a time of renewal, reflection, and joy. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful videos that encourage reflection, growth, and positive change. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Staying connected ensures you're always part of our community's journey toward mindfulness and self-discovery. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you plan to apply these Buddhist principles in your own life? Whether it's practicing detachment, cultivating financial independence, or embracing mindful giving, your insights could inspire others. Let's start a conversation and support each other on this journey. Together, we can create a space of shared wisdom and encouragement. Remember, every moment is an opportunity to grow and find your true essence. Life is a continuous journey, and each step you take toward mindfulness and self-awareness brings you closer to inner peace and fulfillment. Until next time, take care and live mindfully. Let's make every day a step toward a more intentional and joyful life.